This YouTube video covers the topics of compliance and conformity in consumer behavior. The definition of compliance is the act of obeying an order, rule, or request. Business compliance involves going along with an explicit request that is in line with relevant rules, specifications, policies, standards, laws, or regulations. Conformity, on the other hand, is a type of social influence involving a change in belief or behavior in order to fit in with a group and follow the usual standards that are expected by a group or society. This change is in response to real or imagined group pressure. Conformity involves people adhering to unspoken rules like social norms and expectations. There are a number of reasons why people comply or conform to certain pressures and requests, and it's due mainly in part because people are more likely to conform in public than in private. They want to be liked or be like another, a kind of group pressure mentality. It's also because of people's desire for rewards or not wanting to be punished. This is called normative influence, where, for instance, someone's following rules in a classroom, and they're doing so because he or she does not want to be punished and instead wants a reward for good behavior. Other reasons for people complying or conforming are due to the fact that many people assume others have more information than you. This is called informational influence. If you're unaware or want to be correct, people will tend to look to others who they believe are better informed and then follow their decision. People also comply or conform due to power. There's expert power, which is derived from possessing specific knowledge about a content area, such as a project manager. There's coercive power, which is influencing a person by social or physical intimidation. For example, a VP of sales who threatens to fire those employees that do not meet quota. There's also reward power, when a person or group has the means to provide positive reinforcement in the form of bonuses, promotions, or extra vacation time. And lastly, legitimate power is granted to people by virtue of social agreements, sometimes conferred by a uniform, such as the CEO. The Milgram experiment was interested in studying whether or not most people would continue to obey an authority figure, even at the expense of another person. He told participants he was conducting a study on the effects of punishment on memory. Every time the learner got the question wrong, the subject had to give them an electrical shock. The electrical shocks got worse after each incorrect answer. The results of the study showed that 35 of the 40 participants continued to shock after the learner was screaming in pain at 300 volts, and 2/3 of the subjects continued to shock all the way to the very end. While deemed unethical today by most, this study was famous for studying a level of obedience that continues to shock most people to this day. The level of implied power that affects people's decisions is important when studying the patterns and attitudes of consumers who differ on their willingness to comply and conform. The Ash study, or Ash effect, was an experiment conducted to test the effects of group conformity. The participants were given 3 lines to look at and then a target line, and asked to essentially find which line, A, B, or C, matched the length of the target line. There was only one naive person and 7 Confederates, or people in on the study, and told which answers to provide beforehand. The results were that on average, about 1/3 of the naive participants who were placed in this situation went along and conformed with the clearly incorrect majority on the critical trials. In the group control, with no pressure to conform to Confederates, less than 1% of the participants gave the wrong answer. This study highlights the effects of group pressure on consumer behavior.